Hello, stitching friends. I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and boy, has it been a long time, but we are really happy to finally be back with you again today. I think it's been 6 weeks maybe since we filmed our last update, and it has just been full throttle that whole time. So it's just taken us a while to be able to get back to you. So we'll do a quick life update and then get into the stitching because there's a lot to show you today because we have had such a long gap. But we did want to say welcome back. Thanks so much for your patience, and we hope that all of you are doing well and enjoying the holiday season, regardless of what you celebrate. So as I said, it's been busy. So in our last update, we were sharing with you that I was going to spend the first couple weeks of November in East Africa. So I did do that, spent some time in Kenya and in Ethiopia. I don't really have any stories or anything exciting to kind of share from that trip because I really spent the entire time in various meeting rooms in various locations. So not a lot to talk about as far as the globetrotting part. But I did want to share a snap that I took while I was in Addis Ababa, which is the capital of Ethiopia. And this is just, it was a great example of like things that you can see in other parts of the world that you may not be used to seeing where you live. So I was walking with a colleague. We just decided to like get out, get some fresh air. And so we were just taking a walk around one of the parts, this part of the city where we were staying, which is a really developed area. I mean, it's, you know, skyscrapers and concrete and all of that sort of thing. And as we were crossing a busy road, we were passed by a guy who was herding his goats through the city. And, you know, you're not as surprised to see that in a more like rural part of the city or maybe a more residential area. But this was like full on concrete jungle kind of part of the city. And here comes this guy with his herd of goats. So I snapped a couple of pictures because I was just like, of course, this guy and his goats are like hanging around, like looking for a place to get some, you know, get some, pasturage to feed them. So anyway, hope you enjoy those pictures, but that was just kind of a fun memory from that trip. Anyway, as I said, I was gone for the first couple of weeks of November and got home less than a week before Thanksgiving and immediately went into get ready for the holidays mode. So we had told you in our last video that we were nominated by our family to host Thanksgiving this year. So we had a very busy week, busy couple of days leading up to Thanksgiving after I got home with both of us working really hard to get ready to host and get ready for the holidays. We had a really lovely, you know, gathering, a house full of people, and it was a really nice day. Lots of love and just lots of good times and good memories with people that we love. I also celebrated a birthday. So last weekend was my birthday, and Gary, as he always does, really made it special for me. So it was really nice to, one of the things we tried last year for the first time that I really enjoyed and just felt like the perfect kind of celebration that suits my personality and preference was we hosted a little crafting afternoon with several of my local girlfriends. And so it was really fun just to have all my best girls with me or most of my best girls with me. And so, you know, Gary went and he got all kinds of yummy snacks, and he got a boatload of mimosa makings that we did full justice to. And so it was just lovely because there were a couple of us who were cross-stitching. We had a knitter, we had a couple that were working on a puzzle, and somebody else that was working on a model. And so it was really fun to have a relaxed, crafty afternoon with my ladies and to catch up because I don't see enough of them. So that was a lovely way to spend my birthday. And it's nice because I don't feel like I have to be the center of attention. I can just enjoy like spending time with friends. We also, on my actual birthday, got to have lunch with my family, which was really lovely. Always a really good time. So it was just a great birthday weekend. And now we are in the full-on get ready for Christmas phase of things. So things are not slowing down, but hopefully they will after Christmas. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the big things that have been going on. As far as like just a couple of like, I don't want to get into a lot of specifics, but there's been a lot of like health stuff going on family-wise. So for those of you that kind of keep track of my dad and have heard us talk about some of his various adventures and misadventures over the last year health-wise, when I was finishing up my time in Ethiopia, getting ready to come home, he fell. He had a fall. He caught his foot on a rug and took a tumble, broke a couple of ribs. So he's about 3 weeks into his recovery process, and which is he's coming along well. He's still having some difficult days, but that's partially, I think, because he insists on picking up boxes that he should let other people pick up. So he's just being dad, but he's getting better. Thanksgiving week, Gary's mom got sick, and she had to spend a couple of days in the hospital before they figured out what was going on with her. But thankfully, they got her sorted out. She's home, and she's well on her way to feeling recovered. So we're really thankful for that. And then Bear has been giving us fits and starts with some other stuff that's been going on. And so we've been working with his regular vet and went to see a neurologist this week and are trying a series of different medications to see if we can figure out what's going to get him sorted out without having to do a bunch of really expensive diagnostics. So fingers crossed there. But, aside from a few little misadventures in that arena, we're all doing well. And then I think kind of the last thing, we had our first snowfall of the season yesterday, which is probably a little bit of an over-exaggeration in describing what happened. It was really more of a dusting. But it was just nice to, to kind of have a few hours where the trees had a little nice white coating and the world looked a little bit more magical. So that's us. That's a really quick recap of what we've had going on. So let's get into stitching. So I'll start with a couple of finishes. No fully finished objects, unfortunately, but I do have a couple stitching finishes. So the first one is in my sampler category. I have been stitching on Faith of the Heart by With Thy Needle and Thread, and I'm stitched this 2/2 on 36 count Strauss linen by Color and Cotton. Using most of the called for threads. I did make a couple of adjustments along the way just to make sure things were showing up. So the last time you saw this, I had been filling in the house and was also continuing to work my way across through the various borders in the design. And then I had also stitched most of the words at the bottom of the design. So here it is, all finished up, not ironed. I apologize. There's been no time for ironing. But yeah, so here it is, all finished up. I really love how this piece turned out. So I started this in August, and according to my stitch tracker, I spent 22 days working on it. So this stitched up relatively quickly. So for those of you that are wanting to do a sampler-ish kind of design or a more primitive kind of design, but don't want to do something huge, this might be a great option for you. So it was a pretty quick stitch. I did take it with me to Ethiopia on my last trip, and I didn't finish it there. I finished it after I got home, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out, and I really enjoyed working on this piece. It's very, very pretty, and I already kind of know, I have a sense of how I want to frame it and where I want to put it. I think it's going to primarily come out with our autumn decor. So I've got a little bit of time to get that pulled together before next year, but really like how this turned out. I think it's really pretty. Oop. There we go. The next finish I have to share with you is tiny, and it is actually a start and finish. So in our last update, I was telling you about while we had talked about when we were on our trip, our recent vacation. We took an extended weekend with friends and went to the Grand Canyon, and because we flew in and out of Las Vegas, while we were in Las Vegas, we stopped by Stitcher's Paradise, and I picked up a chart that I've been wanting for a while there, and that is Christmas Stamps by Madame Chantilly. And I decided I didn't want to stitch it as the full, the full design of Christmas stamps. I wanted to kind of do them individually and turn them into little smalls. And so what I decided I wanted to do, just given the shape and size of these, they're perfect for either ornaments or gift tags for Christmas. And so what I'm doing is I am stitching as many of them as I can for family members for Christmas this year, and they will serve as gift tags on their Christmas presents, but I'll make them in such a way they'll have a little loop so that in future years when they're not being used as gift tags, they can actually be ornaments on the Christmas tree. So I have a couple that are still underway that I'm not going to show you today just for time's sake, but I did finish 2 that I worked on while I was traveling. So I stitched both of these on a remnant piece of 36 count pearl gray Edinburgh linen, 2/2, and used all the called for flosses. So aren't these sweet? So these will be for our niece and nephew, Cameron and Callan. So I stitched the gift stamp and the reindeer stamp for them. And I'm hoping to get a couple more done in time for Christmas, but we are getting to run down to the wire. And so it's going to be, how much can I get done before I have to switch gears and move into the fully finishing process in order to make sure things are actually done by Christmas. So some folks may have to wait for next year for theirs, but these have been really, really fun and cannot recommend them enough. So that's those. All right, so that's it for finishes. I am now going to start talking about a few whips. So because it's been so long since we've had a chance to film an update, you are going to see all of the whips because all of them have been touched in the last 6 weeks. So the first thing I'll show you is my full coverage piece. This is Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching this 2/1 with a combination of half stitch and continental stitch on a piece of 28 count white Lugana. Okay, give me a second here. There we go. So the last time you saw this piece, just let me look at and refresh my memory here. Okay, the last time you saw this piece, I was working primarily in the 3rd section of the front porch. I had finished stitching most of the roof there, and I just had a little bit of the trim above that section to finish off. I had also pretty well finished off the middle section of the front porch and moved over and was working on the window. So I had made good progress on the window in the 3rd section. I had stitched in the top part of the hanging flower basket. Yeah, I think that was primarily where I was the last time you saw this. So here's where it is right now. So as you can see, the roof and all the trim are now fully finished on this porch here. I've stitched down more through the window, and you can see there is a person in the window who is starting to show up. So another humanoid kind of character here. The hanging basket is now completely finished. I'm almost done with the siding. I've started to work my way down this final pole that's the support pole for the roof of the porch. Have made good progress in stitching in the last of these kind of curlicue cornice pieces, and have started stitching down through the background of the design. So I am very, very close, like in the very last section, less than 100 stitches left before I'll finish page 22. So page 22 will be done the first time I stitch on this when it comes up in my rotation again. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this is coming on. As you can see, I'm getting fairly close to the end of this row of pages, and that's very exciting. So it's really coming together, and I just love this piece. All right, the next whip that I will show you is my seasonal stitching. Let's see, there we go. My seasonal stitching. So I am working on Joyful Song by Samplers Not Forgotten, and I am stitching this on a piece of 36 count cream and sugar linen by Fiber on a Whim, using the called for flosses. So the last time you saw this design, I had made good progress on it. So I had stitched at least I had sketched out 3 of the 4 borders of the design. So you could clearly see what those borders were, even though they weren't finished. I had stitched in the roof of the house. I'd started stitching in the vine that has the really pretty soft pink flowers, and I had started stitching a few of the elements of the design. So this time, I made great progress. I did take this with me to on my trip, and I worked on it in Kenya. And because, well, here it is now. Because I had a weekend free while I was in Kenya between my sets of meetings, I had more stitching time than is usual, so I made really great progress. So as you can see, I am almost finished with all the borders. I've got the bottom border now all the way across. Have started stitching down through the house and have made good progress there. I stitched in this whole tree, stitched in this little quilt star, the heart, this pretty bird, started stitching on the bird up here, got a good bit more of this vine and the flowers in, and worked more on the vine, the flowers, the bird, and his branch over here. So this one is a lot of fun to work on. It's a really, really pretty piece, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I love these colors. I love how they're looking on this fabric. So just a fantastic piece to work on, and really enjoying this one. So yeah, that is Joyful Song by Samplers Not Forgotten. Okay, so we're gonna switch over and let Gary talk about his whips now.
All right, well, the first one that we're going to be talking about is Louis Armstrong. That is by Stitching Jewels Designs. It's stitched on 16 count white Aida with black DMC. So the last time you saw this, I think I had to fix a bunch of mistakes that I made, or Amy did. Somebody fixed it. Anyway, so honestly, I have not really touched a lot of this since then, so it probably looks very similar. Well, this is the last time you saw it anyway. Anyway, I had to fix a bunch of stuff and do some other stuff, as it were. Anyway, this is what it looks like now. And the cool part about the way it looks right now is that this is actually page 1, and it has 10 pages in the, whatever you call it. You know, there's 10 pages. Anyway, and that's page 1 is done. So I only have 9 pages left. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, so that's where I am on that. But honestly, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on either of the projects that I've got. And so this is why it is where it is. But I'm, you know, it's kind of like you put it down and then you get back to it. And you're like, oh, I'm into it. So I'm okay with that. But anyway, so that's where I am on, what was that, Loose Cannons? No, that's not Loose Cannons. That's Trumpet Guy. No, that's where I am on Louis Armstrong. Yeah. Okay, so the next piece I'm working on is called Women Who Behave. And it's by Sue Healis Designs. And it's stitched on 16 count rock salt Aida by Color and Cotton with the called for DMC. This is, again, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on this, but the last time you saw this, I think I had just finished the bow up top and maybe some of the bottom letters, but I don't know how far I got. I guess I could look at the picture I'll show later. Well, you'll see. Anyway, so that was the last time you saw it. This is what it looks like right now. This too, I have had like a really hard time with this one. I don't know why, but like one time I looked at the back and it looked like it'd be a spider back there, and it was all the black thread that was just, I don't even know what happened. So I had to pull all of that out. And then I was doing like the hat. I thought, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to work on the letters anymore. So I started doing the hat. And I don't know what happened to the pink thread, but it shredded. I don't know. So I had to pull all of that out too. I'm not talking into the phone. What am I doing? Anyway, so that's the way that went. This is where it is now. And I'll do more for the next time. So yeah, that's it for me, I guess, on that front.
All right then. Progress is progress. Okay, so the next whip that I will show you is my Fancy Lady. So I am stitching At the Met by Mirabilia, and I am stitching this 2/2 on a piece of 32 count Aztec red linen by Weeks Dye Works. I'm using all of the called for flosses and beads, with the exception that I did do a skin conversion to more African American skin tones, and I did stitch the skin 1/1. So the last time you saw this piece, I had finished stitching all of the beaded garlands on the right side of her gown. I was getting close to finishing off her trailing sash. It was getting close to where it's supposed to trail on the ground, and I was continuing to work my way down through the skirt of her gown. So here's where we are right now. So as you can see, I made some good progress. Now I have finished stitching in this pedestal on this side now, so the whole arch around her is complete. I did also completely finish stitching in her sash, so that's all done. And of course continued, I stitched quite a bit of this trailing section of her skirt, as well as stitched down more through the bottom of the front part of her skirt, and did a lot of the heavy, this is really heavy beading in through here. And so I worked on that a fair bit. This one, I think, depending on how busy my week is, the next time this comes up in rotation, I think this is potentially a finish. I don't want to jinx myself. I just like, that's totally the kiss of death to say that. So it probably won't happen now, but it realistically, I think, could happen that this would be a finish the next time it comes up, which would be great because that would allow me to finish it in 2023 and potentially get started on my next Fancy Lady, which I'm super duper excited to work on. So she's really beautiful, and it's really fun to see her almost to the finish line. So that is at the Met. Okay, the next whip I'm going to show you is my weekend stitch, and this one has been sadly neglected over the last several months, just because of all of the travel and being gone and being busy. So I am stitching Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs. I am stitching this 2/1 on white easy grid. It's like a Brittany easy grid by Zweigert. And I'm doing, again, the half stitch continental stitch combination on this. So the last time you saw this, I was at roughly 19,500 stitches, and now I'm just about at 20,900. So I've hit almost 14, I put in almost 1,400 stitches since the last time you saw it. A lot of that, so what you'll see in that last time picture was I was working in that area where it's the cluster of little flower buds and all the green leaves that are with that. That's a pretty sizable section, so I'm still working in that. So here is what it looks like right now. So as you can see, that section has just filled in more. That's where all of my work has happened. I'm continuing to, a lot of the stitching has kind of happened in the leaves. There has been a bit more fill-in around those leaves, but that's where a lot of the focus has been, is in the leaves around this little cluster of flower buds. So it's coming on. One of the things that I was really excited about was I had another page finish on this. So 2 of the pages in this design are now completely finished. It's page 7, I think, that I finished, because the counting or the page numbering goes across rather than down. So it's page 1 and then page 7 that are finished. And I've made good headway now into stitching into page, is it 14 maybe? Probably page 14. Anyway, regardless, that's how it's coming on. I am hoping, so I have hit one of my goals for the year with this one now having 2 page finishes, or having a page finished. But what I am hoping to do, I'd love to get this one to 24,000 stitches. So I'm about, I'd have to put in like 3,200 stitches to make that happen. If I stick to my weekend schedule, there's no way that happens. So I think it's unlikely, but I might try and carve out a little extra time to put some more stitches into this to kind of hit that mark that I would like to be at. But that's where I am right now. Okay, and the last whip that I have to show you is my wild card piece. So I am stitching on Cabin Fever, which is a Dimensions Gold Collection kit. I am using I'm using the kit Fabric and Floss, and that fabric is like a cream colored 18 count Aida. That is Devil Aida. It is stiff, but that's okay. It's doing its job. So the last time you saw this, I had filled in most of the trunk of the birch tree that's on the left-hand side of the design. I had stitched in, there's a side kind of trunk that shoots out that you begin to see about midway down the page. So I had stitched that. I had filled in a fair bit of the tree canopy and was actually starting to work down to a point where I was getting into some of the undergrowth and the background of the bushes behind the tree. So here is, let me move some of my parked threads out of the way here. Here's where I am right now. So continuing to make good progress. You can see I've now stitched all the way down to the bottom of that trunk and started filling in the meadow. I've begun stitching in the meadow below the end of the trunk. Continued to carry this background down where we get out of the tree canopy and actually get out of the bushes and start getting into the meadow. And a few of these stitches here are actually stitches that are in the two deer that are in the foreground toward the bottom of the piece. So I'm really excited to be working on those. One other thing that was really nice, I filled in more of the sky, but I've been able to start stitching in some of these trees and elements that are kind of in the background, and there's different shades of kind of purples and greens and blues that kind of, you know, make things look like they're farther back or more in focus in the design. So it's been fun to kind of work on this and start getting beyond kind of this kind of chunk of just big tree focus into some of the other elements of the piece. So I'm very excited about this. Now that I'm getting down into the meadow, I will have more back stitching that will come up as it kind of highlights different grasses, as well as some French knots. But that may be another round or two of stitching on this in rotation before those pieces start to come into play. But really love this. I think it's so pretty, and it's been fun to work on. Oop. Let's see. Put that down there. Okay, so I think that does it for stitching. I have a little bit of haul to share with you. So the first thing, as I mentioned, I did have a birthday, and birthdays mean cross stitch haul, or at least they usually do, if you're lucky. And so I got two pieces of cross stitch haul that I wanted to share with you. So the first one is a kit that I have had on my wish list for quite a while, that I'm really excited about. And this is a Luca S kit called Etude with Strawberries. There's a whole series of these kind of still life with different kinds of fruits and berries, and I have a number of them on my wish list. This is the first one I actually have in my stash now. I really love it. I think these mostly will be quick stitches, which again, like kiss of death to say that, but but they seem like they're relatively manageable in size. So I don't have any immediate plans to start working on this because I just have so many projects to pick from at this point. But I'm super excited to have this, and I hope to have this and several others stitched up to put in the kitchen someday. So really love these. Somebody on Flosstube is stitching these. I think it's Lynn, the Lancashire Stitcher. I might be wrong about that. I can't remember for sure, but somebody on Flosstube is stitching at least one of the charts or the kits from the set. And so that's been really fun to see somebody working on one of those. And then the other bit of stitchy goodness that I received for my birthday was the Self-Care Cross-Stitch book, which I received from a good friend, well, a couple good friends of mine. So there's a lot of fun designs in here, like 40 different designs, and some of them are like inspirational and uplifting, and then others are a little bit snarky and subversive. So a lot of fun things to choose from. I really had fun looking through this. I saw several designs that I was like, oh, that would be like timely or perfect to stitch. Some of them were inspirational quotes. It was actually funny because I came home from my retreat. I had a team retreat that I was away this week with my whole team for the week, and just doing a lot of planning and like strategy and, you know, that kind of stuff. And part of the time we spent talking about what are our shared values, how do we want to work together in the coming year. And so some of the like inspirational kind of comments or phrases or quotes that are in this book were things that came out in that conversation. And so I was thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be fun to stitch up a couple of those as like a visual for the team kind of put in our workspace to remind us about how we want to work together as we move forward. So anyway, super fun, and really thankful for that. One other thing I wanted to mention to you, this is not really haul, but it is a little bit of a stitchy expenditure, so I wanted to share it with you. I've been hearing quite a bit on Flosstube in the last couple of months about the Notion app and the template that Stitching Nati put together. I will include a link to that below, because there is a one-time purchase to get the template from her, or from them. So I first heard about it, I think, from Michelle Bendy Stitchy, but then I've also heard about it from EJ and Shelia on the Sunshine Stitchers channel. And I'd been thinking about it for a while because, you guys, I have like 5 different spreadsheets that I use to manage my cross stitch, as well as another app that I use to track my fabric and floss and beads and charts. And so, you know, it's like I've created my own spreadsheets, so I've been using Brian Blitt Stitch's stitching tracker for probably 5 years now. But then I've also created some of my own spreadsheets to have sort of organize all of my charts by like the rotation category and the season and kind of all these other things. I have a spreadsheet that I use to do my planning for the coming year. I have a spreadsheet to track my project bags and what's in each of my project bags, and you know, a couple of other spreadsheets that track other things. And so what was really great when I looked at this template is it brings almost all of those pieces together into one really robust tool. So I decided to go ahead, and it's a relatively quite inexpensive purchase, one-time purchase, and it is a very robust tool. You can use it if you like to track like every part of your stitching life like I do. It's got the capability to do that, but you can also, I think it was Shelia that was saying that she's only using some of the capabilities of the tool. And so you can kind of use it however much or little you want, but it's a great way to organize and keep track of your stitching, keep track of your stash. I've already started, it's a really user-friendly interface, and so I've already started kind of building out an additional database where I can track some additional pieces and tie those into what has already been built into the template. So just another plug, if you like staying organized and you're interested in some online tools to do that, check out the Notion app and the template that Stitching Nati put together. The cost that the price to kind of purchase her template and then start using it is minimal compared to the value, in my opinion. So fantastic work on that. So that's it for stitching haul. Okay, so we just have a couple of questions that came in on the last video that we wanted to respond to, and then we'll talk about what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, and then wrap up and let you get on to your next Flosstube video. So the first question came from Anne, and she asked, has Gary ever gone with you on a business trip? So yes, he has. He's also kind of occasionally, we've had a situation like a few years ago, I had to go to Scotland for some meetings, and then we met in Denmark after I finished up. So he didn't actually go on the business trip with me, but like we took advantage of me being somewhere for us to meet up and do a little vacation. But he has actually gone, so he's been to Dubai with me, and then also to New Zealand, which was fantastic. So I had to go to New Zealand for some meetings several years back, like 6 years ago, I think, and was in and out of the country a couple of times over the course of like a 1.5 year period. And on my very first visit, Gary went with me and we stayed on for like a week to have some vacation, which was outstanding. Like some of my best memories are the time that we spent together in New Zealand. The only regret that I have is that I'm no longer working in that part of my team. And so there's not really any business reason for me to go to New Zealand now. And we didn't know Sarah Stitch Addict at the time, who is from New Zealand. We've met her since then through Flosstube, and gosh, I wish that we were going to New Zealand, because if my work took me there, you better believe I would plan some extra time and like go visit her and her family and like have some stitchy time. But yeah, have you been anywhere besides Dubai and New Zealand for my work yet?
No.
No? Okay, I couldn't remember when I was like trying to think about it.
No. No.
Okay.
I was supposed to go to Rome with you, but I didn't. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
I wish you had gone to Rome with me, but we we won't talk about that. There will be more opportunities for sure.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll go to Rome again.
Let's move on.
Okay, we're moving on. The next question came from Susan, and she said, "What kind of dog do you have? I saw it looking out the window." So we actually have 2 dogs, and usually the one that you see looking out the window is Sophie. And she so frequently makes a cameo in our videos looking out the window that Kelly from Pages and Stitches has dubbed her the window guardian, because she's always there keeping an eye on the neighborhood, making sure people are toeing the line. So Sophie, both of our dogs are rescues. Sophie is she's a lab, pit bull, everything but the kitchen sink kind of mix. And she's such a good girl. Very sweet. She's very timid. She's quite funny because, people, at least before we actually had Sophie, so when we adopted her, like her litter was found on the street, or found like abandoned in some rocks. Somewhere in Texas, and someone just happened to see movement and went to investigate and found this poor little litter of puppies, and they were all in really bad shape. And so when we adopted her, the rescue group had done their best to kind of guess at what the breed was, and they all kind of looked like lab puppies. And so when Sophie came, she looked a bit like a lab. And then as she started growing and getting some food and putting on some muscle, she looked more and more like a pit bull. And so she definitely, you look at her as an adult dog, she's definitely got the pit bull in there somewhere, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff mixed up in there. And it all comes together to make a wonderful package of snuggles and goodness. So that's our Sophie. Our other dog is Bear, and Bear was also a rescue, and he is, Sophie is 7 and Bear is 9. And Bear is a German Shepherd Golden Retriever mix. And he is a very, very pretty boy, and he's very sweet and very good. And so one of the things I love about Bear is it's like he's got the German Shepherd kind of head and snout and ears, but his coat is very soft like a Golden Retriever. And then he sheds like all the Golden Retrievers and German Shepherds in the world combined. Like the amount of shedding that dog is capable of is amazing. So that's Bear and Sophie, and we love them to bits, obviously. Okay, so wrapping up, what are we going to be working on over the next couple of weeks? I am going to spend one more day working on Cabin Fever. We'll see how much more progress I can make on that. Then I'm going to spend a week working on Rose Trellis Inn. So I'm really hoping, I think it's a little bit ambitious to hope for finishing that row of pages. But I think I can get pretty close to finishing it. So I'm really excited to see how far I can go. And then I will be doing a new start. So I'm really excited about this. I'm starting a new piece in the sampler part of my rotation. And I will be starting Die Farben Venedig by Historische Stickmuster. And this is a piece that I've had in my stash for a while, or a design I've had in my stash for a while. And it's one that I fell in love with from the first time I saw it. And so you could argue that it's not a true sampler. That's fine. I'm still going to stitch it, and I'm super looking forward to it. I love it so much that I decided to splurge, and I got the called for Soie d'Alger, so I will be stitching it in silks. So looking forward to sharing that start with you on our next video. Gary is going to be continuing to work on his pieces, so we'll see how much progress he gets, especially as he gets a new page start on Louis Armstrong. And then I'm hoping to do a couple more Christmas stamps and have time to get those fully finished before Christmas Day. So we'll see how that goes. So stay tuned. And then of course, we'll see if I'm able to get a little bit of extra chunks of stitching time to make some bigger progress on my weekend stitch between now and the end of the year. So I think this will be the last video you see from us until after Christmas, although probably not the last holiday season video. But regardless of what holiday you do or don't celebrate this time of year, we hope that it's a joyous season for you. We hope that it is full of people that you love and who love you. I know that this time of year, just because it's a festive season, it's not always an easy time for people, and life doesn't always comply with the festivities going on around us. You know, I know there are a couple people in my life that have some difficult things going on. And so if that's you and this is looking like it's going to be a difficult season for you, we're sending you as much peace and hope and joy of the season as you're able to take in. Yeah, we hope that no matter where you are or what you're doing, that the joy and the hope of the season surrounds you, and that you have a good one. So we look forward to seeing you soon, and we hope that you get lots of extra stitching time with the holiday season upon us. So with that, take care. Oh, if you like our videos, I forgot that part. If you like our videos, we hope you'll give us a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. We'd love to bring you along for all of our stitching fun. You can send us email. I'm terribly behind on email. So if you have sent me an email and I haven't responded, I am sorry. I have seen it. I just haven't had time to respond to emails. So, but globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com, and you can follow me on Instagram between videos to see occasional updates on my whips. So with all of that, we look forward to seeing you soon, and take care and happy stitching. Bye-bye.